Hi, everybody. Good morning. This is Stacy Renee, and I wanted to talk to you today about calling all CPTSD survivors. It is my hope that if you like this video and you find it helpful, that you'll hit the like and subscribe button. This is my bird Grinch. So anyway, today we're going to talk about the CPTSD and how it affects us. You know, a lot of people know that they have CPTSD or claim that they have CPTSD, and if they claim it, they probably know it on some level that they have it. But a lot of times people don't know how to deal with it, don't know what the causes are, don't know that it's unconscious. So I like to try to bring things to our consciousness without people feeling bad about it, but we may feel bad about it. But it's just life on life's terms. And sometimes we grow up and we think that things are going to be a certain way, that if you did grow up in obvious CPTSD, I've worked with all kinds of people with all kinds of CPTSD, and some are more obvious than others. And some people may dismiss their CPTSD when they don't realize that even just forms of neglect are CPTSD. Maybe they were taught or told, that you didn't matter. Maybe they got that underlying tone. Maybe they weren't told specifically that, but they got that underlying tone. So we're going to talk about that and how that affects you today in your relationships with yourself, your cells, and with others. Your self, cells, and your soul, really. But all of that will extend into others because it just does, right? Relationships. So let's get started. So when we look at CPTSD and everything, first off, I want you to know that I'm calling you survivors and not victims, okay? Many of you have been victimized, but I'm here to help empower you, and that means taking your power back, okay? Knowing that you are important and you have a story to tell. To help you find your voice and tell it, and stop searching for things outside of yourself to make you feel worthy, valuable, and loved, okay? We will be discussing self-love this month and ways that you can give yourself attention, validation, and love, whether you have a partner or not, okay? I work with addiction for the most part, all kinds of addictions, primarily food and drugs, alcohol included. I work, for a recovery system where, food is a big deal. Food is one of the hardest addictions along with the codependency, and we'll be talking about that today in this video. Many CPTSD survivors find escapism, right? And sometimes creativity through these addictions. Sometimes we hide behind these, afraid to be seen. My bird's not afraid to be seen. What if I told you that you just don't know how is why you hide? That you are not unworthy and that you were not genetically created to fail. I know that I felt unworthy and genetically created to fail. I felt like, I would be crying in my therapist's office saying, I don't understand. Why are some people so successful and some people are not? And I thought that this was really genetic. I really did, y'all. But what I learned was that it wasn't, because when I really got in the reality of things, see, that was my reality. But the real reality is people like Oprah, people like Elvis. There are people who, were very good, very successful that would not be considered genetically created to be successful, right? So I know some of you may felt that way too, as I did. So I'm not alone. So this platform is to help you know that you are not alone either. We have developed roles in our family of origin. That's where the CPTSD comes in, right? Dialogue and lack of feelings, and don't even know how real some of the quotes that we may carry, with the expectations of our dark imaginings. I've talked about when the other shoe falls, and cutting off our nose to spite our face, that when it rains it pours, those kind of quotes that we've shared, but they really have set up some expectations. We'll talk about those further into this month as we talk about self-love and how we can change our dialogue in our self-love, okay? Sorry about the Grinch. This is the Grinch. All right, most of us think our dark imaginings are reality. I did. What we did to heal our pain was the opposite, which led us to go into extremes, right? Because if we had a parent that was abandoned us or negligent, then we may have actually created a codependent and meshed relationship with our own child, trying to heal the pain of our childhood through our own child. I always tell people when I'm working with people, we can't heal with a double negative. So being mindful of that, you know, and we don't even think about it. That's just our makeup. We think I'm grown, I'm supposed to be over this, and this is what I'm going to do instead of this. But we don't heal and address our own pain. And that's a lot because our words were, our words were not learned to be expressed. As, as a child, we were to be seen and not heard, or we were given mixed messages about our pain. If you cried, you were given something to cry about, and other things like this. So your thoughts and your feelings were dismissed or discarded. So how are we supposed to know how to express our thoughts and our feelings if they were dismissed or discarded? So that's part of the healing the pain, is learning how to express ourselves and not depending on someone else, because if we were children, we still have that children dialogue, that ways that we try to learn how to look smarter, or to feel this way or to feel that way, but we haven't healed, so we haven't acknowledged the real feelings of what's on the other side if we can't heal the feelings that hurt us, That's why they say hurt people hurt people. We'll talk about these things. So we went to extremes to heal the pain, right? We still had the pain, though we tried to repel what caused the pain, only to end up with more pain and isolation, right? So interactions with people cause mental anguish and emotional pain, and this stems from our first interactions with people, our caretakers. And the pain or old tapes of our belief system could possibly manifest in another way that subconsciously, it's in our subconscious. We'll act out of this unconsciously in our attempts to not feel the pain of the past. So we'll act out like we're over it, but we're not until we work on the healing process. That's what I had to learn. The pain that comes out unconsciously is in our attachment styles. We develop that, from our parents. Like I said, when I talked about if you were neglected, then you may be enmeshed with your children. If you're enmeshed with your children, or your parent was enmeshed with you, it's a vicious transgenerational cycle, right? So the pain that comes out unconsciously is our attachment styles, anxious and avoidant, and that's also the codependency and narcissism. There's links between that and the codependency and narcissism, and some mental disorders may spring from transgenerational trauma, right? Like I said, we work on healing ourselves, and our soul, because all this does imprint, embed, and ingrain in your cells. So I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I am an addict, a transformation coach. I study and have done a lot of work on myself to claim the peace and freedom that is my birthright. It's your birthright too, through healing my past traumas and carrying forward that, if I can, I want to be a ripple, okay? I have a t-shirt that says awareness is the removal of obstacles, So many of us are not aware of the cause and effect of our traumas and how they play a role in our lives and choices today. So I hope that you become aware, because this will not be about bashing. We're not going to be bashing attachment styles, codependency, or narcissism. It will be about learning and growing, going to those extremes, like I said, the villain and the victim. I don't want you to be victims, but I know that we sometimes feel like victims. I did, So it will be about learning and growing, because I can't help you empower yourself, without you working, doing the healing work yourself. And it's going to come from your own belief system. And our belief system will make us or break us. And so I'm to help you raise your awareness and your belief system from limited to unlimited. We can't blame someone else and empower ourselves, y'all. We will look at how everything ties together, okay? I know we want an instant fix, but it's not an instant fix. It didn't happen instantly, and we can't heal it instantly. So let's look at the attachment, issues in this video and how they link to codependence and narcissism. A person who has, anxious attachment may become codependent. What this means is that they're a people pleaser, anticipating the needs of others above their own, and they may find their self-worth attached to, another person's reaction to what they've done or their not reaction, what they've done for them. I know we may want to deny that or feel sorry for ourselves as our heartbreak may seem to always happen or validation to never happen, right? I felt the same way at one time, and I had to learn that I could not control or manipulate another person's reaction of what I was doing in the name of care. I care. And so what I was doing, I was acting out off of a learned behavior. I was actually choosing a person who could not give me emotional ability through the need to heal my pain for emotion unavailability, right? Did y'all do like me and find the people emotionally unavailable? That's the, avoidant attachment is what that is I would be anxious attachment and the other person would be avoidant attachment. I tied in a very limited world. I lived in a very limited world. I tie that in as I searched for love. I didn't trust a lot of people, ironically enough, because of my choices. I didn't trust people because of my own choices. I kept getting hurt, So I had to take ownership of my choices. But first, I needed to get to know myself and quit prioritizing the needs of others above myself to give me that appreciation and validation. I needed to give me that appreciation and validation. I just had to learn how. How would I know how? So, I had to quit prioritizing the needs of others. I know a lot of people, including myself, that thought we weren't codependent as we were the givers, right? When we're the givers, it's like, how can I be codependent? Well, we didn't check our intentions and motivations. The problem is that we didn't know ourselves because of all the attention and affection we placed on others without consideration of ourselves. Some of us didn't have an accurate representation of what real love looked like. Real love is unlimited and allows us to love ourselves. If you are in a relationship where you can't love yourself while loving someone else, it may not be a healthy relationship, just a comfort zone. Most of us don't realize that we're living in a comfort zone. We may get hurt and label the other person narcissist or psycho, but not take responsibility that we were attracted to this person and have a divine mind. What? Right, you have a divine mind. See, the thing is if you're like me, you just bounce to another relationship, to another relationship, to another relationship. I shared the other day with one of my clients that I was one of those people, like when I was young, not now, but when I was young, I didn't value myself. So what would happen was I would get in a relationship for about 3 months. Everything would be great. This person would just be in love with me and I would be in love with them. Then they would start picking at little flaws that I had, And then I would be like not knowing how to handle this and feeling unappreciated and everything else because I was giving them all my time and attention and not myself. And so then somebody else would come along and they would be like attentive to me, because like I said, I had somebody emotional available. My dad was emotionally unavailable. So when someone paid attention to me, it's like, ooh, I'm in love. I sold myself short, y'all. But so I would bounce again to that relationship thinking, But then the next one, the old one would come back. The old one would come back and I would be like, oh, they appreciate me now. The thing was when I was doing that, and if you do that, we're not appreciating ourselves. We're not loving ourselves when we're dependent on somebody else to give us something that we need to have within ourselves. See, I didn't know that I had that love within me until therapy. Because when I would be heartbroken, I went to therapy. She'd say, Stacy, you had that love within you. That love was not from them. That love is something you have. So we have to learn to love ourselves. I had not looked at that I had a divine mind and that, I'd been made fun of and validated for the way that I thought. This was playing small and it left me open to the healing of the narcissistic catalyst. That's right. I was open to the healing of the narcissistic catalyst. The narcissistic behavior was a catalyst for my growth when I could see the reflection and the projection and the behavior of the role I played in this story. Because in codependency, we're always like, you. That's because we're micros. Everything they feel and think is more important than us. But our soul knows that what we feel, what we think is important. And it's our journey to learn that importance and not depend on somebody else to do it. Sorry, Grinch. So I had to realize how I manipulated and thought everything was about me, just like the narcissist, right? And they'll tell you, the narcissist will tell you everything's all about you, whether you're doing that or not. Because then when I became empowered, it didn't mean that the narcissistic personality didn't still tell me that everything was about me. What happens when you heal is it's like we learn to say, well, what's wrong with that? When we learn to gauge ourselves, when we learn to take care of our own needs. And then when somebody tells you that it's all about you, then you're in your power and you're like, well, I just asked something. What's wrong with that? You know? When we learn that we can't control and they can't control, that we both control, but we can only control ourselves, right? All right. So if we pay attention, we can reflect and hear it in our first conversations with these people. I know for me, I used to go into these relationships as a victim. They would be saying and expressing how hurt they were from their last relationship. I would be saying and expressing how hurt I was from my last relationship. Neither of us would be talking about how we healed from our last relationship. It would be intellectual, like ChatGPT. I like ChatGPT, but it's really totally intellectual. It cannot feel like a real person, a real therapist. So with this day and time, we have troubles realizing what is real. A lot of people are connecting to love on the internet, thinking that this is love because somebody tells them what they want to hear, but they can't see that person, they can't feel that person, and they don't know that person. Okay? A lot of people are getting pain like that because they've been so hurt, they've learned to trust this, but they don't trust themselves in the real world. So our pain, and some people do find good relationships. I'm not saying that all people don't, but I see a lot of people who are hurt by that, as I do in person. When people have interpersonal relationships, I see that. So we don't know. But the thing is for me, because of my past pain, I feel better if somebody's in front of me, if they're making eye contact with me, if we're both talking about successful experiences. Okay? So I don't know about y'all, but when these relationships ended, that I felt like an addict having withdrawal with no place to put my energy. I was obsessive. I had grief, because I had attached my limited love to a person and not who I was. Because I just told y'all that I thought the love was about them, but the love is about me, what I have to give. When I realize what I have to give, I'm going to be more choicey about what I'm willing to receive, if I'm going to receive breadcrumbs or not, That's empowerment. So, whoever you are today, watching this, I want you to know that your choices matter and that you matter. You can choose to be going through this, or you can choose to be growing through this. One of the roles of addiction is obsession and compulsion. This is in our relationships too, if you're looking at people like in that codependent and narcissistic relationship, because people will take and people will give. A partnership is that you have both, and that's in harmony and peace. But a lot of times people get so caught up in this instant gratification that they'll just take everything in the beginning, and then they realize that as time goes on, it kind of disappears, right? So it's about being mindful in the beginning and knowing yourself and knowing what you do want and not trying to heal from what you don't want. So in the obsession and compulsion, if you have a breakup, if you have somebody pushing you out, pulling you back, pushing you out, pulling you back in this attachment and avoidant, codependent, narcissistic, neither one's good and neither one's bad. It's both just growth. Typically, you can't tell people they're narcissistic and expect growth, because narcissists are in pain too. Even though they don't act like they're in pain, they're in pain. And if we can't help somebody, we don't have to hurt them. So I'm not about bashing the narcissist. I will talk about more how narcissistic behavior, and that plays a role back and forth, because we all have the capacity to be narcissistic. We all have the capacity to be codependent, and usually those two are intertwined in a way because of the lack of healing. That's all that it is, the lack of healing and getting our needs met. So, when somebody leaves you in the avoidant, you may be obsessive and compulsive. You may compulsively call them, trying to fix this. That's a part of the role of the codependent, is trying to fix things. So for me, when I was in these roles and playing these roles, I had to breathe. For me, I pray. Now, whatever, I'm not telling anybody who, what, how to believe anything, but our belief system, what, it makes us or breaks us. So for me, I pray, and sometimes that prayer is like this. So when I breathe, and we're going to breathe together before I end this video, but when I breathe, I breathe. Sometimes I have to go to the bathroom, because how many of y'all are at work or something and you're like focused and obsessing on this relationship, or focused and obsessing on what he said, what she said, what they did, and you're not in your own business, you know? So we breathe, and then we pray. Praying could be like this. I pray that I'm not obsessed over this person, that this is wearing me out, right? Because y'all wondering, what are they doing right now? You're ruminating on what they did. You're doing this. You're not where your hands are. You're not in your right mind. You're in this limited sphere of thought. And the compulsion is that they haven't called yet. They haven't called yet. I'm going to reach out and call them. You don't need to do that. Don't beg somebody to love you. If you're begging somebody to love you and you're making up stories about why they have emotional unavailability, that's not a healthy relationship. So we're going to breathe together. We're going to ask for the obsession to be removed, that we can be focused on ourselves. Because how many of y'all have said, if I put all this energy into myself, what a powerhouse I would be? You are that powerhouse. I'm telling you, you are that powerhouse, okay? All right, so we're going to breathe, pray, and then what? Then what? Say, I don't know. Because we're making stories up when we're obsessing and compulsing and ruminating sometimes. Because we're trying to get in the mind of another individual, and you cannot. It's hard enough to be in our own minds. So we want to be in our right mind, which is not crazy and not obsessing and compulsing. So that's what we're going to work on today. Okay? So I want you to just take a deep breath in. We're only going to do three of these right now. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. This will put you in your frontal lobe, not in the back of your mind where all your pain is stored. So breathing. Then the prayer just be, please let me be in my own business. Please let me be able to handle what's in front of me and not obsess and be attached to outcomes and things that I can't control in this present moment. Because really, in all reality, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. And I'll tell you what I don't know leads you open for. I don't know leads you open to magic, mystery, and miracles. Because when we're not making stories up, we're not teaching the energy around us to activate towards that. When we don't make these stories up based on our past traumas, it allows you to live in the present moment and what's in front of you, what you can do today. How many of y'all say, they made me do this? You make you. You make you, okay? Because you are worthy, valuable, and smart. And everything that you see in somebody else, you are all that, okay? All right. I hope this video has been helpful. Again, if you feel like it was and you feel like somebody would benefit from it, then please feel free to share it. Thank you for tolerating my Grinch, and thank you for joining me today. Alrighty. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you the next week or two, okay? All right. Let me know if this has been helpful and what you would like to hear more of. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and bye. Right, Grinchy? Let's stop this video. I gotta find it with my eyes here. All right. Thank y'all.